Well, I reviewed this phone back in October, and after reviewing it, I pretty much used this as my daily driver pretty much instantly because I had smashed the glass back on my Zug Z2, and that phone was getting a little bit slow. So I started using this and I was very impressed, great battery life, pretty much great everything. And now that I've used this for about 4 months, let's go through the phone again and see what has changed and what has not. So let's start with the build quality. Again, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of glass phones. This phone has a glass back. It's fairly solid, to be honest. It's durable. Well, as durable as a glass phone can be. But again, it's glass, and so you have to be very careful with the phone to make sure you don't smash the back or the front. The band around the phone is metal. But yeah, and if you put this on the ground, it'll slide pretty easily as well. So you got to be careful about that because it'll slide right off a chair if there even is a slightest incline on the surface that you're putting it on. So you have to be very careful. My good friend Martin, he smashed his Xiaomi Mi 6 when he put it on the ground. Same glass back as this, and it kind of slid off the chair and just hit the ground, smashed right on the corners. The other thing that I'm sure you guys have heard me, complain about in my other reviews is I don't like how this phone looks because it's not bezel-less like other phones and has a very regular bezel full phone look. To be honest, the side bezels on both sides are actually not too small. They're actually not too bad actually, but the top and the bottom bezels are actually pretty big, so they don't look very good. It does look a little bit outdated when you compare it to like bezel-less phones like what I have with my Elephone U Pro, which has very nice curved edges. The Mi Note 3 on the other hand looks kind of old and kind of... That being said, when you use this phone, you kind of get used to how it looks, and the next most important thing is how big it is. So when I'm using this phone kind of like this, it's okay, but it's still not as compact as the Elephone U Pro. I'm going to take the cover off. The Elephone U Pro, this is a compact phone. It feels like a 5-inch device or almost a 5-inch device, whereas this does feel like a 5.5-inch device in terms of the width and even the height as well. So without the case, it's actually not bad, but you really should not be using this phone without a case because it's going to smash and you're just going to ruin your phone. So you got to get a case. I'm not a fan of these rubber TPU clear cases because they're really yucky, and once you get your fingers oily, this surface gets really oily and disgusting. So I don't like it that much. I like the matte plastic or the matte rubber type like this. I found this and I got this because there were 4 bumpers on the side so that if you put your phone inside, the bumpers actually protect your phone from drops. And I've actually dropped this quite a few times with the bumpers on, and absolutely nothing has happened to the Mi Note 3. So absolutely no problems there. Not even a scratch actually, which is pretty impressive. But this case also makes this phone really bulky as well. So that's one downside you have to consider when you're getting a case. You want to get, a nice protective case, or you want to get a thinner case that might not protect the phone as well. The other thing I love is the front-facing fingerprint sensor and the capacitive buttons. I have not changed in my like for off-screen capacitive buttons as well as a front fingerprint sensor, and actually I'm surprised the fingerprint sensor has not slowed down at all, which is very impressive. So talking about the display, I actually put a matte screen protector on the display, and I know a lot of people are not a fan of matte screen protectors because it makes your screen look kind of grainy and you have that rainbow look, but the reason why I put it on is because I really don't like my finger getting caught on, the stickiness of the screen. Even if it's Gorilla Glass, your finger will still stick if it's sweaty enough. But with a matte screen protector, you don't have that problem, which is actually very nice. And that's one of the reasons why I use that. The screen, really, there's really not much to say. It's the same as when I first got it, and it's still the same now, and it really has not changed at all. And I have a screen protector on it as well, so I have not damaged it either. Now, when I first reviewed the Mi Note 3's audio, I was quite impressed with it. But now that I got the Smartisan Nut Pro 2, this phone has completely outclassed the Mi Note 3 in terms of audio, which is very impressive as well. The Mi Note 3's audio is good, but it's not the best. And again, nothing has changed from the time I reviewed this phone until now. I still use it. It's still good. The case does actually affect the sound a little bit, but it's not too big a deal. All right, let's talk battery life. And this is probably one of the more important aspects in a review after a few months, just to see if the battery life has degraded. And I'm pleased to say that battery life has not changed at all. I'm still able to regularly get around 10 hours of screen on time on this phone if I wanted to. And if I don't have 10 hours of screen on time, I can go 2 days easily with this phone, which is very nice. The battery life here has not degraded at all, and I'm very pleased again with the combination of the Snapdragon 660 and the 3500 mAh battery. Gets better battery life than the Elephone U Pro, which has the same specifications and the same battery as well. Let's talk about the software now. This phone came with the Chinese version of the MIUI ROM. And the problem with that version was I was not able to get notifications, or even if I did, it's sporadic and it doesn't work for every app, which is really annoying and was one of the reasons why I kept on switching away from this phone and back to it. I would switch away from this phone and I would try, for example, the iPhone U Pro, and then I was like, you know what, nah, I like this phone better. I would switch back, but then I would get annoyed by the lack of notifications. So finally, I flashed the Xiaomi European ROM, and that actually solved all my issues, and I get all the notifications on this phone now. So there's no problem with that. I will say that after flashing the Xiaomi European ROM and getting the most recent update, which was about a week ago, and it was about 1.2 gigabytes, I think, so it was a big update, the phone does feel a little bit more sluggish, at least compared to the Chinese ROM, or when I first reviewed the phone as well. This phone does feel a little bit more sluggish. Not when I'm swiping. It does feel a little bit more sluggish when I'm launching apps, especially apps that are not loaded into the RAM. When you launch it, you do see slight hesitation, and I would actually say that launching apps right now on the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 is actually on par with the Snapdragon 625. So about on par with a new Redmi 5 Plus, which is actually fairly slow if you think about how fast the Snapdragon 660 is with the custom cryo cores. So the phone has slowed down a little bit on me, but it's still definitely usable, and you don't really notice it too much unless you're in a pinch, which does not happen that often. And again, on this phone, I actually used a Nova launcher, and the one annoying thing is that sometimes when I turn the phone on, turn the screen on, not turn the phone on, the background will actually go black, which I don't know what's wrong. It'll go black, and then sometimes it'll come back and disappear and come back again. It's not too big an issue, but it does get annoying because you're like, oh, why's my phone black? Oh, because the wallpaper disappeared. So that's something you have to be aware of. It's not, again, it's really not that big of an issue, but just something to let you be aware of when you buy a Mi Note. And let's talk about the network connectivity. Again, nothing really has changed. The Wi-Fi still has great range, Bluetooth still works, and the network bands obviously have not changed either. And I haven't really seen any areas where, actually, you know what, that's not true. So even though the network connectivity here has been pretty good, and I've gotten good speeds, and I really haven't gotten any dead areas, there was, I think, a period of 2 days where the SIM card suddenly just died, and I didn't get any connectivity. I would switch between both SIMs, nothing happened. So it was really weird. It was 2 days where that happened, and of course I'm a phone reviewer, so I got a lot of other phones to try. So I used another phone in the meantime, and then 2 days later I switched the SIM back into the Mi Note 3, and it was okay. That actually never happened again, which is really strange, and that was on the Chinese ROM, not on the Xiaomi ROM. I haven't experienced that issue since that happened. I think that was like a month or two ago. So that's a very strange issue, and it could potentially be a deal breaker because not many people have, a ton of phones lying around. So do be aware of that and think about it if you are buying this phone. I don't think I've heard any other reviewers talk about this issue about the Xiaomi Mi Note 3 either. So finally, the camera on the Mi Note 3. I gotta be honest, I don't actually use the camera that much on this phone. I'm pretty much use it to take photos of my dog, and that's about it. But it is nice to know that when I want to take a photo, I can take a great photo on the Mi Note 3. And as you guys know, the Mi Note 3 was ranked on DxOMark. I think it ranked higher than the iPhone 8, which is a very good score. And I have to say that the photos taken on this phone in good lighting conditions, actually the photos turn out very, very good, very saturated, very detailed, pretty much a great photo that many people will have difficulty distinguishing from, let's say, even a Galaxy S8 or an S7, which is very impressive. Low light, though, is where you start seeing the difference. This phone's low light capabilities do not match up to the top range flagships, and the front-facing camera is average as well. The video quality is 4K, and it's good. I use it sometimes to take videos of stuff, but again, I don't really use the camera much, but it's nice to know that I have a good camera when I need it, which is nice. All right, so that was the review of the Mi Note 3 after 4 months, and I hope you enjoyed that video. I really think that the Mi Note 3 right now, at this moment, is still the best Snapdragon 660 processor phone you can buy at this moment. You can find it, as low as $300, which is a very, very good deal. If you don't want a Redmi 5 Plus at $180, the Mi Note 3 is your next step up. Otherwise, you're paying, $390 for the iPhone U Pro, or around the same, or maybe $350 for the Smartest Nut Pro 2. Those are also Snapdragon 660 phones, and those also have issues. And the Mi Note 3 so far is the most solid phone you can get for this price and this range as well. And I think Xiaomi did a great job with this. And yeah, so if you're thinking about getting a mid-range Snapdragon 660 phone, this is pretty much the only phone I recommend at this point. So if you want to check the links down below, the Mi Note 3 is a very, very good deal. And make sure you buy it on sale though, because if it's not on sale, about $350 or $400, that's not as good a deal. I really would recommend it at $300 because that's the best deal you can get on a Mi Note 3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is your daily driver right now, and would you consider switching to the Mi Note 3 because it is a very good device? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.